Well, the time being 7:30, we can go ahead and start the Board of Health meeting for the 21st of September. We will start off. Melissa, you wanted to give us the COVID update for the meeting? That would be great.
Sure, of course. Thank you, Rich. So just to give a quick update, I know I provided numbers in my last email. We have received a few additional cases since then. So we are currently at 2,342 total cases for the town. Of those, we are currently monitoring 25 of those cases. So I hope my information for positivity rate as well as vaccination rate has been somewhat helpful to kind of get a gauge on where we were, where we're progressing to. So as I showed, we are at a positivity rate as of last Wednesday, so we'll get more information and more up-to-date data tomorrow evening. We were at a 2.18% positivity rate for the town, and we are holding strong with vaccination rate of 75% for first doses and 69% for second doses. So we are seeing an increase in those numbers. The percentage hasn't changed from our last meeting. However, the number from my last week's reporting, however, the numbers are increasing for those individuals getting vaccinated. So just to put a plug in, we will have our clinic. So I know I emailed the board. We have our 2 flu clinics coming up, and we definitely encourage those to sign up to get their vaccine. We do have an online portal this year. Last year we had a sign up genius where, or Evite rather, where people were able to sign on. This year we are on a new platform, even different from our COVID clinics. It's called Color. So it's supposed to be pretty user friendly. We will be starting it out for the first time for our flu clinic, but it will allow an individual to sign up online, provide all of their information, provide their insurance information so they're properly registered, and then they would be able to pick a time slot that would work best for them. So it should be a pretty streamlined process. When they enter the clinic, they should be able to just get checked in, screened, and then progress towards getting their vaccine. So they wouldn't have to carry any paper copies. Similar to last year when we weren't up on a system. We had individuals with making copies of health insurance cards, so we won't have to do any of that this year. So we're looking forward to it. It's definitely been publicized on local cable. It will be in the Hometown Weekly. We have it on our social media pages, but definitely feel free to spread the word. We have our first one on the 3rd of October from 10 to 2 at the COA, and that's for all Walpole residents. Ages 4 and older. And then we have an additional clinic on the 18th of October for the senior population for those 60 and older, also from 10 to 2 p.m. We definitely are appreciative. We have great volunteer turnout. So we pretty much have all of our slots filled up, which is awesome because we're still, a couple of weeks out. So we're grateful for that. But that will be my update, Rich, if anyone has any questions.
Thank you so much. Great update. Any questions from anybody? And next on our agenda is the approval of minutes from the 7th September meeting. I don't know if there's any comments or edits or changes from the board.
A couple of questions. Under the hearing request for 653 Washington Street, under the motion, right, the 4th line where it says, the board requested a timeline of dates when these repairs will be completed by to present to them. Who's them?
The board, of course. It says the board.
So can we say just will be completed by to present in 2 weeks at the next Board of Health meeting?
That was this meeting, correct?
Right. I don't know what you said.
Just the wording. So the intent was to have those remaining violations outlined with a schedule for those repairs by this meeting.
Right.
Okay.
You're just questioning the way it reads to you, right, Mona?
Yeah, it doesn't sound right. I don't know. And also there was another one under the Board of Appeals request for comment. On the second line under the documents, it says where 3 vehicles are currently permitted. The Board of Health has in order to correct out at this property? Like, do we mean like inspect or clean it out, or what do we mean? Like, what is
In order to correct? So the order to correct is the term, right? So the Board of Health
Like an
has,
enforcement mechanism, like we have an order to correct enforcement letter out.
what would we do in that case? Like, to correct means, do we go to the property and like enforce them to like remove all the junk that they have on site?
So typically what will happen is it's initiated by someone complaining. A health agent from the health department would go out and survey the area. And if something's not in compliance, they would issue an order to correct. So it's just a term used that they would be cited, for lack of better words, that they would be cited, that they would have to correct the item cited in the order to correct.
So do you know if someone's already gone there, Melissa, or did someone?
Yeah, that's an open case still with the health department. So Rika was the one that, when she was on the call last week, explained that she had done the site visit, and she's the one that initiated the order to correct.
Okay, good. Okay. Also under the same, under motion though, the third line, it says items of concerns are harboring of insects. Should we say are harbor of insects or harboring insects? I don't know, it just sounds the terminology enough.
I'm comfortable with the terminology.
potential harbors of insects, something to that effect.
Right, because it doesn't sound right. Items of concerns are harboring of insects. I don't know.
You could add the items of concern as harboring of insects.
Harboring insects, right?
Okay. Thank you, Mona.
I'm just being picky.
No, clarification, especially for those who weren't at the meeting. I'm sure some of that definitely helps clarify. Wonderful. Okay. Anybody else? Any other comments?
And also, under motion, I have a question. Like under motions in general, it says when we say made by so and so, right? That the board is not in favor. Like, should we specify the Board of Health or the board? It's, you know, it's the minutes under the Board of Health meeting, so it's not questionable. Should we specify the Board of Health or it's okay? Say just the board.
So I would say these are motions for the Board of Health. When we make our comments to the boards asking or requesting information, we would address saying that the Board of Health has, you know, these concerns or the Board of Health has no concerns. But it's ultimately up to the board how the motions are drawn up.
Okay, I would suggest like at least just the first term for the board, like would say the Board of Health, and then, you know, following like, you know, further in the motion, there will, you know, you can say like, for example, under the Board of Appeals request for comment 324 East Street, like under motion, like we would say, made by Mona Basani, that the Board of Health is not in favor. And then, you know, the third, you know, line, it says the board, which is fine because we've already specified Board of Health. And same thing under the following motion, under documents, exhibits, deputy health agent summary for the 1062 North Street.
Does somebody want to adopt going forward, or is it? Does it make it clear? Are we assuming that so like made by Stefan, that the board, so he's on behalf of that board, so by default,
Okay.
explains who that whose board that represents. I would agree if there were multiple boards, if we were had a different board or a different opinion in that same motion, we would definitely clarify it.
Okay.
I was just trying to unmute myself, but I do agree. I think it would add clarification.
Definitely, especially things like the Board of Appeals is part of that topic. So,
yep.
All right, we can do. Does that make sense to the rest? Can we make that edit? Perfect. All right, thank you. Anything else we have for the minutes? And I will entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion in regards to the minutes, the Board of Health from September 7th, 2021. The Board of Health approves the minute as amended.
Great. The motion has been made. Do we hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussions? Not, we will vote. Mona,
Aye.
Carol,
Aye.
Stefan,
Aye.
and I also 400. Minutes are passed. Thank you. Next on our agenda is the hearing request follow-up for 653 Washington Street.
Yes, and we actually have Janet and Patrick Fasinello on as well, so they can speak to it and hopefully give an update. I know Melissa also sent you the asbestos lab results. So the preliminary findings did not find any asbestos in the linoleum or the mastic, and then they go to secondary testing, and they did find trace quantities of asbestos, so less than 1%. In the flooring mastic. I have already spoken to the Fasinellos, and they have contacted a contractor, licensed contractor. I don't know where you're at in that process, but I know they have begun it to do the proper remediation of the kitchen floor. I spoke to DEP about it, and they said this is the best case scenario as long as the mastic remains intact. And nothing's done to it. It's the least it's the best case scenario for if you're going to have asbestos, the trace amounts and the material it's in. And then regarding where they're at in the repairs, I know that the Fasinellos are still in the process of going through the eviction of the current occupants, and that they're still hoping to make the repairs once the occupants have moved out. So I don't know. I'll turn it over to both of you to provide an update for the board.
That's just about it. That was good.
Do you
That's
have
exactly
a court
where we
date?
are.
Do you have
have
a
not got a
timeline
court
for
date.
when you?
They will be issued the summary process either Wednesday or Thursday of this week, and then you have to wait a certain amount of time before it can go to the court, and then you wait 5 days, and then you wait for them to respond.
So I have a question. Has the asbestos, has it been removed in the past? Because to find less than 1%, that's pretty good for a property that age. Do you know if some work has been done in the past?
We don't know that.
What happened here was there was a flood in that apartment, at which time the water remediation contractor came in, removed whatever flooring. The flooring that was put in most recently was stick and peel tiles. He removed apparently whatever was under it to make sure he got to the underfloor. And then we moved on to do the remediation of the downstairs apartment. And that's where we left it. Because the occupants of that apartment are not the tenants. They are occupants.
Oh, okay. I see.
And just to jump on that, the housing code unfortunately does not differentiate between legal tenants and occupants. They're all occupants. So I understand that they don't have a lease with you, but from our code, they are occupants.
They are occupants, and they haven't had a lease in years. And the gentleman that did originally, the gentleman that pays the rent has been gone for 3 weeks.
I'm sorry, has been gone for how long?
3 weeks.
For 3 weeks. So is he's subletting the apartment to them?
No,
or?
these people are remaining. Okay, they were guests. The fellow that rented the apartment in the first place came in and invited his daughter to live with him. He was retired, and she lived with him. And from the moment, periodically she would be there, and then she'd go, and then she'd be there. Her father was divorced, and there was a large family, like 5 kids. And when there was a number of difficulties with these tenants, Eventually, there was just the rent payer, his daughter, and suddenly his ex-wife showed up. And they were asked, because they were at tenants at will, they knew that after causing flooding twice at the downstairs apartment and a number of other destructive behaviors, we asked that they leave. And the fellow that paid the rent left. However, the two guests in the house have remained.
Okay. So
We are in the process of going to the courts to have them removed.
Oh, I see. So no one has been paying the rent since, or?
That's correct.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, thank you for the clarification. I mean, it's not a Board of Health, issue, but
That's why we're going through the courts.
correct. Yeah.
So now that we have I know we were waiting for the DEP inspection results, the remaining corrective actions that were put through as needed remediation, do we have a plan or a schedule?
We have hired a Neil Cass, who is a licensed remediator, that Neil McMorrow from DEP, we had a long conversation with him, and he said there was no danger to anybody that was in the apartment. Go ahead.
Yesterday, Mr. Cass was sick, or he would have been there earlier, but he recovered, and Mr. Cass and I went over to the apartment, and he wanted to see exactly where it was, looked at it, and told me after inspecting it and probing it, said that he'll get back.
Mr. Fasanello, excuse me, can you speak a little bit more into the computer? It's difficult hearing you. We could hear Janet very well.
Where was I? Oh, yesterday.
Yeah.
We had the contractor and I looked at the floor. He inspected it. I sat there and looked at it. And I didn't sit down. And the result was that he said that to me that he would write up a proposal and send it to us as soon as he could.
That's where we.
So that's for the asbestos piece. Is that for all the remediation of the other actions that were on the prior meeting?
Which ones?
With the fire alarms are closed and the CO2 detectors were taken care of. The other things, that's been so destroyed that we're going to have to tear out that kitchen completely. It's not salvageable. So that's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to replace the whole kitchen. It has to all come out. The remediator he thinks that's a good idea in case there's other stuff underneath, because we don't know when the cabinets were put in. And so he can check that also, find out the place is completely clear, and we'll put in the whole new kitchen.
I see. Ricky, is there
There were a few other items. So in the kitchen, the stove was in disrepair, so that goes to repairs in the kitchen. The bedroom that's off of the kitchen, the baseboard heater in there was in disrepair. That bedroom was also missing the screens. That's fixed. Okay. I have not been out to re-inspect, but I can schedule that. And then the windows.
Before you go out, excuse me. We found out just today that one of the occupants has not been inoculated. The daughter, has not been vaccinated. The daughter said she had, but I wouldn't count on that. But the mother has not been, so make sure you mask up if you go.
Yep, I always do, but thank you. And then, so that same bedroom needs screens, and then the bathtub had a part that was rusted and in disrepair. And then obviously the kitchen floor was a big one that needed to be repaired. As I noted at our last meeting, the smoke and CO alarms had been replaced.
In the bathtub that's a cosmetic thing. There is a chrome plate that covers the emergency drain. They had torn that off. I went on the internet, luckily found another cover. So that's on order and will be coming. And as soon as it does, we can put that in. Or if yes, that's what's going to happen.
Are there next steps that we were supposed to follow? Is there a timeline that we had from before as far as certain dates that we had to have actions done by? Or I remember last meeting there were some deadlines that they were asking for exemptions or extensions on.
Right. So those items that I just listed outside of the smoke and the CO, because those were addressed within 24 hours. The other items I had given them 14 days, but then they requested the hearing. So that kind of put a pause on it. So now the board at the last meeting had requested a timeline to get those repairs done and for them to come back at this meeting. So it's up to the board to decide how much additional time to grant them, to stick to those 14 days. If you want to give a little bit more time, the code sort of speaks to the maximum time being 30 days. So it is up to the board to determine. And the code also speaks to best faith effort, right? Because they have contacted a contractor for the asbestos, but as we all know, they can be backed up. So get it scheduled sort of as soon as they can within that time frame, understanding that the time frame that's given, there is some flexibility depending on when contractors can do the work, as long as there's an effort made within that time frame to get the work done and scheduled.
But meanwhile, the occupants will be evacuated, right? They're not gonna be there.
Well,
They're still residing there.
They right now, when I was talking to the constable, he'll deliver those tomorrow. Is that right? Tomorrow?
Give it tomorrow, the next day.
The next day. What happens then? We take that form and bring it to the court. The court will then sign off on it. We have to show them that our previous notices were sent. They will sign off on that. We wait 5 more days. At 5 more days, we bring it to the court to be implemented. They then accept it if we've done all the paperwork correctly, and they send a notice to us and to the occupiers with a court date. We don't know if it's going to be held online or in person, and that's it. So I asked the constable, when's that court date? He said, it's going to be in October. He said, probably around, sometime in October, probably towards the end of October. The court is absolutely jammed with evictions. So that's the best I can tell you.
Knowing that definitely is the court's court is the mercy of the courts in this case. The 14-day would be, as a board, we can entertain an extension, a longer period of time, up to 30 days is what Ricky were saying as far as the timing, correct?
So that's what the code speaks to as a time frame. The board, you do have the authority to grant variances, and if you felt more time could be given, you'd want to give that, you would have the right to do that. Just when we cite, and we can go up to 30 days depending on the violation.
So is the maximum we can grant them 30 days in addition to what from today, 30 days from today?
So like I just know, the board does have the authority to grant variances, right? So you could give exemptions to the code. So you could give more than 30 days if you felt that was appropriate. you could give less than 30 days.
There's one thing we should tell you, is that we've given them 4 different agencies for housing. Actually, I called those 4 different, make sure they were real. And they said, well, you can't do it because you're not applying for housing. But the people who need the housing should apply to us, and we can take care of them. So we sent them, we can send you that too. We have 4 different agencies that will provide them with housing.
Help. That will give them help to
And actually, before we started any court action, we offered them money to leave.
so that they could find a place.
And they weren't interested.
I'm beginning to think they're professional occupiers. They're just
In this apartment, not only do they not pay rent, but they get utilities free. Because this apartment has utilities included. So they're getting air conditioning. They're not paying anything for air conditioning. They're not paying anything for heat or hot water. And they're just squatters.
gas.
So we understand your position, and I know it's tough, must be difficult. As a board, does anybody want to make a motion regarding any opinions about what our action should be? Is there any opinions from anybody on the board? I can make a motion if no one has any opinions.
It would seem to me that we need to be compassionate with the situation. The owners of this apartment are doing their best to rehab the apartment in spite of the people that are insisting on living there. So I think we need to give them as much time as they possibly need.
Thank you.
Good, Carol.
So I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that the Board of Health grants 30 days extension for the repairs. But I also like to ask that within 2 weeks, just update the board on the status of the court and the contractor. Make sure we have dates assigned for those. And then after those 2 weeks, we can see where we are. But I think the 30 days seems reasonable because you do have to deal with the courts.
I'll second that motion.
Great. Any other discussions? Motion made and seconded, and no discussions. Then does that seem reasonable to you, Vasnados?
Yeah, thank you very
Yes,
much.
thank you.
We appreciate your input there and your understanding.
And if you hear of anybody that needs tenants, let us know.
Absolutely. Great. So the motion been made, seconded. We'll go ahead and vote if it seems like it's a reasonable approach. Mona?
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
Stefan?
Aye.
And I too. So 4-0-0. Best of luck, and please keep us informed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck.
Always interesting things on our board, isn't it? So that is our 7:35. So we are running a tad late. We'll jump into the food establishment hearing for Red Wing Diner. Do we have
Yes.
anybody representing?
Yes, so we actually have the owner, Liam Murphy, here. And I know he'll be jumping in shortly to speak on his behalf and give you an update on everything that he has done so far. So I just wanted to give a quick, included some of it in her email to the board. So this started about coming up on 6 months ago. Red Wing Diner had their routine inspection at the end of February. And then I went out to conduct a re-inspection in March. On the initial inspection report, it was listed that there were a fair amount of rodent droppings, mice droppings, and it still was an issue at my re-inspection. I know at this point, Liam was aware of the issue. He already had a pest control company coming out weekly, but it didn't seem to be addressing the problem. So we discussed him getting another pest control company out for a second opinion. So he did call a variety of different pest controls, and he did hire another pest control company, and they came out and they did a mass trapping. So that involves putting, like, one evening, put out a ton of glue boards. I know Liam's gone through very many glue boards, and try and just get as many as you can in that one period of time, and then start looking at exclusion in addition to trapping. So we had, at the end of March, Melissa, myself, Liam, and Pest Control had a conference call to kind of see what their findings have been, what the next steps would be, how we could get on top of this problem and address it. So Pest Control had a lot of different things that they were looking to do, particularly around exclusion. Red Wing has been around for a very long time, so that's an older building, so it needed some exclusion, particularly around the foundation to work on addressing the issue. So they have been working very hard at finding all those areas. And we've continued regular follow-ups. We had a follow-up call in April, end of April, to get an update now that new pest control was in, kind of see what improvements were being made. Red Wing had another routine inspection at the end of May. There was still some evidence of mice droppings and mice improvements, but still there was still some work to be done. We did another walkthrough, or we did a walkthrough, Melissa, myself, Dale, Pest Control, and Liam, at the beginning of June, to see everything that had been done regarding exclusion and looking at where are other areas that we might see that could be addressed. And so kind of from there, re-inspections and walkthroughs and meetings, I would say, have been conducted every 2 weeks to once a month. And then Red Wing did have another routine inspection at the beginning of this month. And then yesterday, Melissa and I did meet with Liam at the Red Wing. And there is still some activity. I do want to commend Liam for working with us and taking this very seriously and addressing it. Pest Control is coming out weekly still. He's still working on exclusion. They've put all their food now into containers. But the food code does speak to the establishment needs to be free of pests. So that's kind of brought us here to the board because it has been quite a lengthy period of time, and we're still seeing some activity. So we wanted to bring this to the board's attention. And I know, Liam, I'll turn it over to you if you want to make any additional comments or have anything else you'd like to speak to.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this is my first Zoom anything, so I was a little nervous about even connecting. Thank you, Rika. Thank you for giving me a few minutes. Some time ago, it was brought to my attention, a waitress actually saw a mouse in the ladies' room. And so I brought that immediately to 3 pest control people before this. His response to me was, I don't know what you expect. You have all those woods behind your restaurant. At that point, I let him go because that is not something I want to hear from a pest control guy when I come to him and say that a waitress saw a mouse in the ladies' room. And I will say this, the ladies' room is in the dining room. And the last thing I ever want is for a customer to see a mouse in the dining room, which is horrible. At that point, I had used F&W pest control in the past, and I had some very good results with F&W. I then called F&W. They came down. They surveyed the situation. They said, we can get rid of your mice in 3 to 4 weeks. Fine, great, let's do that. 6 months goes by. I'm still seeing the occasional mouse here or there, and we're still seeing droppings in locations and things like that. With F&W, I couldn't actually speak with the technician, although it was the same technician all the time. I had to call a main number. So I called the main number. I met with the general manager of F&W and the technician, and they came down, and I said, guys, you said 3 to 4 weeks. It's been 6 months. What's going on? No, we can do this, we can do that, we can do more with exclusion. And I'll be honest with you, I did not like the technician's attitude, to be very blunt. He seemed to be bothered by the fact that I had called the general manager and we were having that meeting. I gave them time until it became aware. I believe somebody actually did see a mouse in the dining room, and they called the Board of Health, and everything was inspection. They had seen things. We decided after a conversation that I needed a new pest control person. I interviewed at least 6. One of the things I did not like about F&W was I wasn't dealing with anybody that had any real, I'm sorry, my light just went out. I thought I was going to be smart. So I wanted to deal with somebody that had more skin in the game, that wasn't just there for a weekly paycheck. So after I interviewed a couple, and I'll be quite honest with you, out of the 6, I had 2 or 3 that were like, nope, not coming to the Red Wing. Nope, you got too much woods around you. Nope, or whatever. So I hired Dale, and I can't say enough good things about Dale. Dale has taken this on as a mission. He is taking this personally, that he is going to get rid of these mice. Rika did speak to the very first thing he said to me when he came on board to get this. He said, how many mass trappings have they done? And I said, what's a mass trapping? He said, well, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to come in here on a Sunday night. You're closed on Monday. You and I are going to lay out 2 cases of glue boards and 75 snap traps. We're going to go from the attic. We're going to go all the way down to your office in the depths of the cellar. And then we're going to find out where they are. Are they up in the attic? Are they coming from the basement? We did that. So at that particular time, we caught quite a few. And we were able to then focus on exclusion. We have continued to focus on exclusion. We continue to, my restaurant is covered in glue boards. We go through 2 cases of glue boards a week, just laying them out anytime anybody sees any kind of activity. We clean it up, boom, down goes a glue board. I've learned more about mice than I care to know about mice since all this has started. What we have seen to have done, so then we go into all kinds of exclusion. We go into door sweeps. We go into exclusion on baseboards. We go into exclusion throughout the kitchen. One of the things we have done and we continue to do is we have taken metal flashing. We have gone around the entire perimeter of the kitchen. We have put the metal flashing down and then taken high-density plywood and put that up against the metal flashing and then screwed that all in place so that the mice can't eat through the metal flashing. We have put roughly 800, 900 pounds of hydraulic concrete in between the foundation and the parking lot. We had noticed that where the cement was and where the asphalt touched it, there were some areas. In my education about mice, an adult mice can get through a hole the size of a pencil eraser. So we had to eliminate all of those. We continue to do more and more exclusion. We continue to do door sweeps and things like that. I do need to get the garage door. I want to get it's kind of hard to describe, but your garage door comes and rests in between this foam so that it's originally designed to keep cold air out of your garage, but I'm going to do it to try to keep these mice out from getting through the back ramp. Back ramp seems to be a bit of an issue. The back ramp is only 5 paces away from the Red Wing property is 4.9 acres in total. I only use a little bit more of an acre of that with the footprint that the Red Wing currently is on. The other 3.9 acres or so is wetlands. And when I bought the restaurant, I quickly learned that there's 2 kinds of wetlands in Walpole. There's pink wetlands and green wetlands. And the pink wetlands fill the aquifers for the town wells. And that's what I have behind my restaurant. So nothing could be done with those particular wetlands. Now, if it was a perfect world, I would just literally have that clear cut and filled in, and I would take away their habitat. I would take away, I had mentioned to Rika and Melissa on one of their visits, I've had, a chipmunk in there. We've had birds fly. I have an owl that you can hear at night. We have turkeys, like 20 turkeys come out of the woods and take over the Red Wing parking lot at times. So there is a vibrant wildlife directly behind my restaurant. What we've been able to do with the exclusion, though, is over the last month or 6 weeks, the only thing that we have been getting on the actual inside of the building are juveniles. Now, why is that important? It's important because juveniles need a much smaller hole to get through than the pencil eraser their parents can get through. The fact that there are no adults in the building is a great sign because one of the things I learned is mice can reproduce after 30 days. So you have 2 mice in your building. If they're going to be there for a month, the next thing you know, they're going to have litter after litter after litter after litter of mice. So we haven't caught an adult mouse in 6 weeks, at least a month, 6 weeks. It might actually even be a little longer. Now, yes, we still do have some juveniles, and I am still. I've worked with Rika and Melissa. We have done what I would consider some extensive work to the basement itself to help try to bring this up. We had some water issue in a back part of the basement that wasn't used. I got my guys on that. They cleaned that up. We have rerouted the water that was actually the issue. We had some low spots in the basement that could actually capture water and supply them with some source of water. We have leveled all that off so that there's no standing water anymore. And we have also upgraded the 3 sub pumps that I have in my office to keep that water out of the office. I throw myself on the mercy of the board. I will do anything. I have spent an exorbitant amount of money, and it's not about the money. I'm into it now so deep, it makes no difference to me. If somebody came to me and said, I can wave a wand, give me $20,000, you'll never see another mouse, I would cut him a check today. It's $400 a week when this guy comes in, Dale, and he's cutting me with all the product that he does, $1,600 a month. I don't balk at that. What's even scarier than having to go in front of the Walpole Board of Health as a restaurant owner is having customers think that you're overrun with mice. So I am fully on board with this. I think about it day in and day out. I have watched every YouTube video. I have drilled holes in 5-gallon buckets and put dowels with peanut butter. I have done anything. If you walk into Lowe's or Home Depot and you go up to the rack where it has all the mouse traps and everything, I have bought everything. I have bought sonic mouse noise things so that they will stay out of the building. I will do absolutely anything it takes to get these mice under control.
Well, I appreciate your passion and your dedication and your fight. The education on the mice, I can imagine what you've gone through, and I'm sure you never thought about that getting into the restaurant business.
No.
So I can appreciate your efforts. Is there anything board related do we need to do, Rika or Melissa? Do we need to?
So Rika, definitely jump in, but I would say, I mean, we definitely don't want this to be the end point of this, because I do feel like there's still items that need to be corrected, and I do think that they should be taken seriously. And not to say that Liam hasn't, he's definitely, gone through the process, and we've definitely made improvement, but ultimately at the end of the day, the age of the building is definitely old, and there's items that with inclusion and exclusion that they've been able to make corrections to help prevent animals from coming in. However, I think we need to go even deeper, and like I know Rika and myself and Liam, we've had the conversation of like a 5-year plan, because there are a lot of cracks and crevices in the foundation. And I would propose to the board that we potentially even do monthly check-ins for maybe, 6 months or so. I think that, again, we've come so far, but my fear is that if we stop these inspections, then I don't want to say we might go back, but we might go back. And I feel like we've come so far. And I do think there is an importance to this, obviously, like the food code does, touch upon, 0 pests. So I think we are making leaps and bounds, and I think we are moving in the right direction. However, I think that there's a lot that still can be improved with cleanliness, maintenance, maintaining everything, and just, continuing this progression forward in a positive way. So that's what I would have to say.
Makes
So-
perfect sense.
Did they ever find out where they're coming from, or like have there been is a particular area in the restaurant where they found most like the mice, or?
That's exactly what we did with the mass trapping. That's what that was for, where we put the two cases of glue boards out in the 75 snap traps. So that way we could identify where the activity was, and then we could go to that with remediation, with exclusion and things like that. Patching up holes, all that kind of stuff. So we have identified, as soon as we identify an area, like I believe I had just mentioned, if we come in the morning, and believe me, my guys have had this beat into their noggins. They come in, first thing we do is we clean. If you see an area where there has been droppings, we clean up those droppings and down goes a glue board, so that we know the droppings are telling us where the mice have been, what the path the mice are taking, things like that. We are very aware of that, and we are doing everything we can to rectify that.
So you haven't identified where they're coming in from?
No, I haven't identified exactly, like, I can't say they're coming in from this hole, or that, because we've like we put 800 pounds of hydraulic cement into every little crack we could find. Dale, one of the reasons my pest control bill is so high is because he comes in with products that are out of the ordinary, so that he can fill any little crack he sees with special pest control foam that they can't chew through. It has fiberglass and something else in it that cuts their mouth and they stop chewing. So we continue to do that. Now, where are they coming from is behind the restaurant. They're coming from the 3.5 acres of wildlife I have behind there. If this wasn't pink wetlands, I would go in front of whoever I needed to go in front of the town to find out what needs to go into having that area leveled, or at least filled in, so that it's not such a habitat for mice and wildlife in general.
Did you find any in the kitchen area at all?
Oh, yeah, they've come in through the kitchen area. Sure, absolutely. I would be lying to you if I told you they haven't come in at some point in every part of that building. At some point, I have seen a mouse over the last 6-9 months at every room of that building. But we have been on top of it, and we have got it down to just a few juveniles. And I think that is actually a very pertinent point. The fact that we are down to just 1 or 2 juveniles a week caught on glue boards. So I fully understand. It's a zero pest for a reason. I eat out too. I understand why these rules are in place, but I will do anything at all. If somebody has suggestions on how to go further, if anybody would like to come down and visit, I'd be happy to show them around the restaurant and show you what we've done and show you just how close we are to these wetlands.
I was going to ask a quick question on, what's your cleaning schedule and regimen after you catch a bunch of mice, or in the beginning of the day, or just your schedule in general?
Beginning of the day, the guys come in. I have 2 guys that come in and open up between 8:30 and 9 o'clock in the morning. One of the guys starts prep. The other guy starts cleaning. It's a dishwasher and a prep cook that comes in. The dishwasher, Mr. Martinez, that comes in, he immediately goes around. We have a wet dry vac that has a 30-foot hose on it. He immediately goes around and cleans up. If we see any mice droppings anywhere, that's what he gets, because we do find them obviously in the morning, because when it's quiet at night, that's when they tend to come out. Now, at the end of the night, the guys do the major cleaning that has to go on. So that's done at the end of the night. As far as pulling things out from the walls, now, Rika and Melissa have been down many times. And we have rectified some of the things to make it easier for cleaning, to pull things out. We had a coffee station that was hard piped into the wall. We had a plumber come in and put flex pipe on so that we could then pull that away from the wall. So now everything in the kitchen is everything other than the dishwasher, which is stainless steel and built into the kitchen, but underneath it is at least 3 feet deep to get under there. Everything can be pulled out away from the wall, and everything can be cleaned. Now, Rika has passed on a name of a professional cleaning company. I'm certainly willing to reach out to them, have them come in on a weekly basis if they want to come in. Now, one of the issues I have with the age of the building is when a professional cleaning company comes in, most of the time they come in with power washers. They're going to power wash your floor with one of those oval power washers that go around. They're going to power wash the building is so old, it leaks through into the basement. So power washing isn't necessarily the end-all be-all to rectify, but I am certainly willing to call the people that Rika has given me the information on and have more people come in and clean. If that's what it takes, I'm willing to do it.
So has the building been shut down during all these procedures, or you were functioning, you were operating?
Well, we were functioning. I mean, last summer, we were. I should say that the Red Wing was very lucky because the Red Wing does so much to go. We didn't really have to reinvent ourselves during COVID. Now, my kitchen guys never went anywhere. We were fully open from day one. Now, it's only been since COVID has been relaxed in the issuance of the vaccines, where things have really come out. But customers have really come and businesses starting to get better. But the building was never like vacant to let this happen, if that was your question.
Now, my concern is that there is food being prepared in the kitchen area, whether there are customers or whether there is, deliveries. Mm-hmm. The food is still being prepared in the kitchen area where you
Correct.
found several mice, and that's my concern.
Mm-hmm. Mine as well.
And just to add to like what Melissa said, and Mona, your question about where they're coming from, like I said, we had a meeting with Liam yesterday, and we've talked about additional cleanliness pieces that need to be done, and the fact that it is an older building, like looking at that 5-year plan, doing certain upgrades. And the hope is that as these upgrades are done, you might find additional places where mice could be getting in, that we can do better exclusion, because there still is activity. So they must still be coming in from somewhere. So it's just trying to find exactly where that is and then closing it up. But also then doing that in a way that will also be preventative in a few years to come, and not just a short-term fix, because we want this to be in some ways a permanent solution. I mean, every building needs upgrade. So even if you do this now, like, you still need to upkeep the building for the years to come. It's just part of having a building, right? We know things deteriorate over time and need some TLC. So we have discussed that with Liam there are additional cleaning pieces that can be done, and to continue to work on that exclusion, and in that, hopefully, doing some upgrades that also makes it less comfortable for mice.
So you don't feel that shutting down the restaurant until this whole procedure is done. You don't think that shutting down the restaurant is a necessary step at this point?
So we don't, this is Liam's livelihood, right? And we need to realize that. And we never, like, I would say that's kind of why we brought Liam here, because we would hate to see him closed. We are also, though, struggling a little bit to see what the next steps are. We think that there is a way forward. And we want to see that. And Liam has been putting in a lot of effort. He has been taking the time to meet with us. There has definitely been a reduction in mouse activity from when we first got involved. So there have been improvements. However, there is still activity.
And that's my concern, because I found mice in the kitchen area. So I'm thinking maybe temporarily until this problem is resolved and we keep doing the inspections on a monthly basis. I mean, I don't feel very safe, like, the food is being prepared in an area where mice has been inspected on site.
I mean, you do also need to keep in mind that Liam has put all food is contained. It's either in refrigeration units or it's in containers. And those containers should be inspected to make sure that they haven't been chewed through, that nothing's gotten in them. And then before any prep is done, like any tables, counters, should be washed down, washed, rinsed, and sanitized to address those concerns. So if they are following those proper protocols, then the thought is that the risk would be reduced. I mean, yes, there is a reason there should be no pests in a food establishment, and mice do carry illnesses. That is known. And I guess I should also say that up until it's now been actually 3 years when the new food code was adopted, it didn't speak specifically to zero pests, but it spoke to preventing pests. And now, since that upgrade, I want to say it's new, but by now it has been 3 years. But that update in the code now spoke to eliminating pests and having zero pests.
I think it's a key point too, as Liam mentioned, the COVID impact. I mean, we try to use it. It's impact us in multiple ways, and I think just the amount of people that would normally be in the building probably might have, it's a different situation for that period of time where you did not have as many people in the building, might have given the mice the opportunity to find a place to start building up their numbers. So I think you're doing the right steps by mitigating, by working with the Board of Health. I would feel comfortable making a motion, provided that we do definitely a monthly check-in. Now, would this be something where you would do an inspection on site, or just a meeting, or how would you guys like to manage the monthly?
So, I mean, we'll definitely continue to do our part behind the scenes with Liam, myself, and Rika and Dale. I don't know if it's something where you want Liam, similar to tonight's meeting, to come in front of the board for one meeting of the month for possibly consecutive months to kind of have this conversation and to see where we're at. I do think, like we discussed, Maureen was out there early this month, our contractor inspector, and she did have a few items that probably could be worked on. So again, I think a lot has taken place, but it's been over a short period of time. So I do think that we need to continue to progress with this progress. And I think, like Stefan mentioned, the cleanliness, making sure you have logs for it. Again, like Liam offered to have a private company come out. I think that those are items that will assist with the mitigation of the rodents. But I do think, again, we will do our part to, keep the lines of communication open, because we do genuinely care. And I do feel like that's Walpole's mission, is to keep, communication. And we are a friendly community, and we don't want to do something that will obviously hurt your livelihood. So I think as long as we are on top of it, that would be my recommendation.
Liam, would you be willing to come back in a month just to give us an update?
Oh, absolutely. Whatever you'd like.
You got us hooked on this journey. We're on the journey together.
I have a quick question about the cleaning. So did you say that there's already been enhanced cleaning, or is it just still the standard schedule that you've had?
We have done, I would say, some enhanced cleaning more recently. We have had things that can be moved easily so that they can get back behind it, things like that. So there has been some enhanced cleaning, and I am more than willing to bring in professionals or whatever it takes to get this thing rectified.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really going there. I just maybe a recommendation to the board. I'm curious to know what other people think, since there still is a rodent problem. Maybe just some enhanced cleaning from your team.
Sure.
Just to make sure that, obviously before food prep, I would assume that that's happening, but
Absolutely.
Enhanced cleaning, in my opinion, would make me feel a little bit better about it.
Certainly.
And if we were to go the extra step and have an outside professional service, I think that would go a long way with the board.
Be happy to do that.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other recommendations, Rika or Melissa? Can you recommend any extra steps for precautions in the kitchen area, or do you think that the best is being done?
I mean, I think if he continues to progress, and again, taking note from Maureen's inspection report, there are a few items that can be corrected, and continue to work on exclusion along with a robust cleaning schedule. I know, like Liam said, originally when we went in there, a lot of the equipment was standing equipment that was not movable. So something like that, obviously, if things aren't being moved and something finds a home, it's comfortable, it's not being, aggravated at all. So the whole thing is moving things out. We did recommend also having a checklist and having someone sign off on this cleaning, whether it's front of the house cleaning or back of the house cleaning, on a daily basis. So then someone's held accountable, they're signing off on it. And then Liam, obviously being the higher up, would be the one to oversee all of that. But people would be held accountable for cleanliness of the establishment overall. And there's certain things that may not apply to another restaurant that, you know, hey, it's worth giving it a try, and maybe this will help mitigate the mice. And that's kind of, I think, what we're looking to do.
Okay, thank you.
Having said that, I think we've can make a motion. I'll make one and see if there's support for it. I would make a motion that we would ask Liam to come back in a month for an update, if you wouldn't mind. And also ask him to make sure that any of the actions or the recommendations that were listed on the inspection reports have been thoroughly addressed, attempted, and sure that those are completed. And then I like the idea of having a 5-year plan. So if we could also plan this for a longer period of time and give us a sense of what those steps would be, I think that would be really helpful for us to be able to see the future and be able to get rid of some of the issues that are along the way.
Like your motion. I'll second it.
Okay, any motion made and seconded? Any additions to it?
So I would just say, if you want to put in a date, the next meeting's the 5th. So if you want to go with a month, I would do the second meeting, October 19th, if you want to have that in your motion.
Perfect. Liam, would that seem reasonable?
Absolutely, sir.
Perfect. Then we'll add that into the date if you could. Motion has been made, seconded, and some edits. Any other comments do we want to add to? Discussions? All right. Then I will go for a vote. Carol?
Aye.
Mona?
Aye.
Stefan?
Aye.
And I also. Liam, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And we know it's a battle, and we're here to help, and we definitely want to hear the next update.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right. What is next on? We have new business, election day changes.
Sure. So as was written in my email, so the town special election is going to be held on November 2nd. So we did get outreach from our town clerk, Liz Gaffney, and she did advise us to not hold a meeting on that day. So I would leave it up to the board to either meet once that month or potentially change that second meeting to another week, which would potentially shift the meetings out.
But we usually meet once in November because of the Thanksgiving, or that's December?
We normally, I would say November and December, we typically meet once a month, and then come January, we pick back up the twice a month.
Right. So
Why don't we go to that just once a month?
So the third of the month would be the 16th, which is smack dab in the middle of the month. So if you guys want to just hold a meeting in November as on the 16th, then we can do that.
Okay, sounds good.
What about the December meeting? Why don't we do that now too?
Sure. So we would typically meet the 1st or the 3rd. So the 7th would be the 1st of the month, Tuesday of the month, and then the 21st would be the 3rd. So either one of those, or you can switch and do an off week.
Let's do the 21st.
Isn't that too close to Christmas?
What's wrong with that?
Carol.
I mean, are you going skiing, or are you going to Alaska or some wonderful place?
Well, let's shoot for the 21st then, and if we have to change it.
We're still a ways out, yes.
Yeah. Great. All right, so let's take those 2 days. And the newsletter, saw that. Pretty impressive. Quite a lot in that.
Yeah, it's getting good. The electronic template that our intern Kelsey did last year is great. So we've just been kind of adding to it, and it's been a good success.
There was other information. There was correspondence. Anything else that we needed to look at that was on the meeting?
No, that's all.
All right then. Unless there is nothing else, we'll make a motion to adjourn. Yeah.
I will so move the meeting to be adjourned.
And I will second it. We will take a vote. Carol.
Aye.
Mona.
Aye.
Stefan.
Aye.
And I. The meeting has been closed. Thank you all. It was an interesting one.
Welcome.
That was.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll see you on the 5th of October.
Great.
See you guys all.
Yeah.
Bye now.
I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Thanks. Take care, Brenda.
Okay.